Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm going to be doing a series of videos. But this one is going to be about tunnel warfare and what we could possibly learn from the Vietnam era and apply it to what is going on in Gaza. And then I'm going to be doing another video that's dealing with a little bit of the esoteric aspects of the tabernacle. I've been asked to do something that I think is unique, and I think people will learn from it. And then I still have to do the video that was requested by Andrew about pseudouridine and cancer. I still have to publish that video. So with that said, oh, and then the details of the molecular biology of the polio virus and how it can reduce the glioblastoma. So, some of the videos I'm going to be doing is about the war. Some of it's going to be about kind of the metaphysics of things, and some of it will be medicine. Okay, so let's start with tunnel warfare, right? Now, there are, I've heard different numbers, but, some people are saying 500 kilometers of, of tunnel infrastructure that's in the Gaza, um, underneath the buildings and stuff. So I don't know if that's number is accurate or not, but the the point here is that the tunnel system is extremely extensive, and some of it is somewhat just diggings, right? Some of it is poured concrete with reinforced walls. Some of it has well, electrical lines through it and lights and ventilation systems. Some of it is very rudimentary. So, keep that in mind that there's different stages within the tunnel system and how extensive and how elaborate it can be. Americans saw this in the 60s when we were fighting in Vietnam. And my understanding is that the actual unit that went into the tunnel system in Vietnam were called tunnel rats. I think that's what they were called. I could be wrong on that. But in Platoon, the movie, there was a scene, it was within the first quarter of the movie, I believe, where they were doing an attack in a tunnel system, and I think Oliver Stone was trying to capture how close quartered and um, how dark it could be in those tunnel systems. So the Viet Cong, what they were doing was they would have an elaborate tunnel infrastructure within the jungle, and they would pop up and then go back underground and then pop up somewhere else, right? And then go underground, and so it was kind of, especially during the bombings, the carpet bombings that we were doing, and they can hide, and that was a winning strategy for the Viet Cong in Vietnam. Now, the failure of the Vietnam War from the American side is multidimensional, and it's more involved to be able to go over it in this video. But I think that there are lessons learned on what happened in Vietnam with the tunnel structure and how the United States did not prevail in that war. And one reason is because of the tunnel system. But there are lessons learned from it. I don't think that in the United States military history that we have anything contemporarily, yeah, post Vietnam era that's anywhere close to doing tunnel warfare. Now we've trained in that kind of environment, especially kind of special force kind of stuff. But I don't think that the United States has too much experience in this since the Vietnam era, other than in training. Now there may be a little bit, a little. I think they call them spider holes, um, that were discovered in in Iraq, but nothing anywhere near the complexity that we saw in Vietnam. So Israel, is dealing with something in Gaza that's being built up over multiple years. Uh, and and keep this in mind, the Gazan people, the Palestinians knew that they were building these things. They didn't stop it. So when Israel's trying to knock out these launching sites that end up just popping up because they're just popping up from the opening in the tunnel system, and they're buried underneath buildings. It's very hard to fight it, and there's going to be casualties because of it. There's going to be civilian casualties. It's hard to believe and a lot of people aren't hearing this in the mainstream media, but it's hard to believe, right, that the Palestinians didn't know about this as they were shoveling dirt out of the holes, and creating these tunnels. Didn't anyone ask, what are you doing? As they were pouring concrete and supporting wall structures and putting conduits in and ventilation systems and electrical lines. I mean, obviously they heard and saw activity. This network is pretty extensive. So throughout the whole Gaza Strip. So Israel is going to really have to go in inch by inch to be able to root this out. So the Palestinian people are at fault for allowing these tunnel systems to be developed. Now, what are some of the ways that, now I'm not saying this is what Israel will do, I'm just saying, what are the possibilities? I was curious to see, I did a poll on X, and the poll was about like, would should Israel use flamethrowers in the tunnel system? Should they use chemical weapons or biological weapons, or should they flood it? And there are different options. Not all options one meet the Geneva Convention, most likely, and not all options, are equally have an equal moral component to it. But they're dealing with something that is extremely difficult. I don't think the American public understands how difficult doing this tunnel thing is. And if you have an opportunity to talk to someone that was a vet in Vietnam, all right, and they're getting older now, and so it may be harder to find them. But and especially they were a tunnel rat, and they did the combat in the tunnel. Really talk to them and ask them, what do you remember? What was it like? And it's not going to be pretty. And you have to be to be able to win this. You have to be extremely violent and use unconventional means. And hence, there's going to be a lot of collateral damage, destroying buildings and clearing, getting a better field as the troops are moving in, as Israeli troops are moving in, will allow them to command the above the surface theater, right? But below the surface theater is going to be problematic. One, it could be booby trapped, which was a problem in Vietnam. And then, you have intersecting tunnels. This is not just one long tunnel, right? This is the reason why there were several kilometers, hundreds of kilometers of this stuff, is because it breaks apart. Even though think of it this way, even if you look at Manhattan, it's about 6 miles long. But if you actually zigzag through the streets, right? And go up one block on an avenue and then cut across all of Manhattan, go up another block on another avenue and come all the way across, right? Um, you're gonna have miles and miles and miles of walking, right? This is something similar to what's really going on in Gaza. So I think that to understand, let's imagine that you actually zigzagged across the east and the west side of Manhattan, block by block by block, all the way to from the southern tip of Manhattan all the way to the northern tip of Manhattan. So that gives you kind of an insight of how many miles we're dealing with here, right? And not all of Gaza has tunnel systems, but it's pretty extensive. So because of this, the 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 collateral damage is going to increase, but also the the casualties on the Israeli side is going to increase, especially because of the booby trapping. So, um, one option is using flamethrowers. My understanding is flamethrowers are illegal now. I thought they became illegal after World War II when we were using flamethrowers in the Asian theater. I believe they were using flamethrowers also in World War One during trench warfare. But that was more of a stalemate. Both sides were in trench warfare, and it was a stalemate. So it's a little different than the Vietnam trench warfare or the tunnel warfare. It's not really trench warfare, but the tunnel warfare of Vietnam and the tunnel warfare in Gaza. So it's a little different. So flamethrowers, should they use them or not? That's one way to do it. Another way is to gas the tunnels. So if they use the flamethrower method, again, it's against probably the Geneva Convention rules of rules of warfare. Now, chemical, and gassing them, well, obviously that's against against warfare, the rules of warfare, if there are rules. And there is this added component, and that's what happened in the Holocaust. So you have the Jews that were gassed in the gas chambers, and during the Holocaust, and then it would be problematic for public consumption to see that there's the IDF using chemical gassing in the tunnels to declare them out. That just for public consumption, I think it would be problematic. So they probably won't do that. Then now you're going into, well, what about biological? All right. Here's my take on this. I'm against biological warfare, one, because there's a lot of negative externalities that cannot be modeled, and that there's a potential population escape that comes out of this, even if you shield biologically, through antibodies or therapeutics or whatever. Even if you shield your troops or your society, there can be an escape that happens and affect your society, not just your enemy's society. So case in point, releasing a pathogen such as bacterial or viral, and then having antibodies already in your troops because you inoculated them, but you know that your enemy isn't inoculated. Well, they're going to be affected by it. So this is what biological warfare was designed for, really. I don't think that they're going to use that. I don't think that they're going to go down that road. It'd be interesting to know, and I'm sure there's data out there. I just don't know. I haven't looked, but it would be interesting to know what the vaccine rates are for the Palestinians in terms of the crisis that we just went through. I'm trying to be generic with my terms to keep this video up. So could it be used and be more targeted because some people have inoculation and some do not? Yeah. But the thing is that there's two basic population groups within the Gaza Strip. The militants, which we will classify as Hamas, and then the civilians, which we'll classify as the Palestinians. All right. And yes, the Palestinians can be militant, and but let's just be simple with this and just go, Palestinians are the civilians and Hamas is the militants. Both populations probably are not inoculated. All right. And because of that, then you're going to have a spillover within the civilian group. So you're going to have still collateral damage. Flamethrowers in the tunnel system, the collateral damage would be somewhat less with the civilian population and more targeted to Hamas that's in the tunnels. You got to remember, when they go down in these tunnels, some of them are going to be abandoned, some of them are not going to be abandoned. We don't know. And that was the problem that they saw in Vietnam. And some of them are booby trapped. So, you don't know what you're dealing with. So another method would be go in, clear it using, just hand-to-hand or, pistol-to-pistol operations, clear it and then blow it up. There has been some talk about using salt water to flood the tunnel system. This has been done, my understanding, in the southern part of some of these tunnel systems that are near Egypt. Benefit of that is that it reduces the collateral damage. It destroys the electronics that are down there, meaning the electrical lines and stuff like that, by using the salt water, and potentially disarm or explode the booby traps before the IDF goes down in there, and it would flush the system. Now, what is interesting from a metaphysical situation here is that this week's Parsha in the Torah is actually the story of Noah, in the world flood. So, and that Parsha ended on Saturday night. So it's kind of surprising that if they were going to do a flushing of the system, it should have been done this week, and it didn't happen. As of this recording, I think this is recorded on the 20th, October 20th, no, 21st. And so maybe the water is a possible solution. But I think it's not easy, is the point, and it's going to be. And it may not be just pistol to pistol, right? It may be a combination of water flushing and then pistol to pistol. But the thing is that they're going to have to go in and destroy these tunnels. And this is the reason why it's going to take months. This is not going to be an operation that will be for, a few weeks, and then rockets are, launched and missiles are launched, and then eventually there's some sort of peace agreement. If Israel is going to do this right, it's going to take months, and then there's going to need to be a reestablishing, because it's rooting out Hamas, a reestablishing of what the governance infrastructure is going to be for the Palestinians. Now, again, the Palestinians have another chance, and that is self-governance. People don't realize the Palestinians allowed Hamas in. The Palestinians allowed Hamas to make those tunnels. The Palestinians allowed Hamas to make those rockets. The Palestinians allowed Hamas to actually fire those rockets. How many Palestinians actually got on the phone and said, you know what, we have suspicious activity that's going on with Hamas that are launching these, it looks like they're going to be launching these rockets, or these rockets are being launched in these areas, and they call the Israeli hotline, right? They don't do that. Why? Why? Because a big part of their population, meaning the Palestinians, are allowing Hamas to do this. So to think that the Palestinians are all, just civilians in the crossfire, you're not paying attention to the real situation. Now, I do understand that, there's, aggressive behavior over the decades by the Israelis. But again, the reality of the situation is that Israel is moving towards a situation where the borders are going back to biblical times, and the building of the temple is going to happen. And it's going to be bloody, and it's going to be violent. And that's, to think that you can just peacefully wish this away is being naive at best. So, that's my take on it. So there's this tunnel warfare is going to be very problematic. What do we do? How do you solve this problem? And the United States really hasn't seen this since Vietnam. But training, we've been doing training, and Israel has had some experience in the tunnel. But I think that the extent of it now and how big this operation is, it's going to take place, is multiple magnitudes higher than what they've ever seen before. So there's going to be a lot of leveling of the towns within Gaza. There's going to be a lot of leveling of the buildings. There's going to be a lot of rubble, and there's going to be these operations that are going on underground and blowing them up. And there's going to be quite a bit of casualties, I suspect, on the Israeli side to being able to do this. And as the casualties start to build up, there's going to be a waning support for Netanyahu, and the international community will start to, as the casualties on the Palestinian side start to pile up, the international community is going to, start pushing for a peace agreement. This is the reason why the Israelis need to be steadfast and get the job done, because it's going to get a whole lot worse if they walk away from this unfinished. There was somewhat of a lesson learned during the Iraq War, meaning Desert Storm, Desert Shield. We didn't take out Saddam Hussein. I think this was one of the biggest mistakes that Bush Sr. made. And, he was concerned about the instability of the region. And because Saddam Hussein was a known quantity, then it would, but that was all pre 9/11. That was in 91, right? So, if you took him out, there may have been a better, some better turnouts that took place in the Middle East than what we have today. That, and again, that's hindsight's always 2020. That's my take on it. So Israel needs to get the job done. And if lasting peace can happen in the Gaza Strip, and self-governance can take hold without terrorist militants being that governance, then there will be a chance for peace. But again, you can't just look at this from a military operational point of view only. You can't look at this from a humanitarian point of view only. You can't look at this from um, just a biblical point of view only, right? There's there's multiple dimensions to this, but there is this metaphysical component where there's a there's a push, there's an acceleration of events that are taking place, and peoples are being judged. There are different people that are being judged, not at the individual level, but at the societal level. The countries, where do they really stand? Do they stand against, um, the this this temple rebuilding that has been, in the works for thousands of years? But there are casualties. You do see in the news, how on both sides, the Israeli side and the Palestinian side, how a child may lose their parents, and the fear that that child has because of the unknown, because the child, knows that they're protected when they're around their parents. These children are, around age 5, and it is hard to see, but it's happening on both sides. It's happening on the Israeli side, and it's happening on the Palestinian side. It's happening probably a little bit more on the Palestinian side because Israel is now in aggressive advancement in trying to solve the problem. But again, the Palestinians allowed Hamas to take hold. You know, Now there are some evidence to suggest, and I think it's probably true, that the Israelis kind of created Hamas, just like how the United States created ISIS and created, some of these um, terrorist organizations like Al Qaeda. So, um, but what happens is you create this monster and then you can't control it. So don't forget that maybe Israel helps spawn the Hamas movement, but it got out of control and needs to be eliminated now. Now the lesson learned is don't do these things. Don't create things you can't control. Um, but you still need to solve the problem, right? Again, everyone's at fault here. The Israelis are at fault. The Israeli government's at fault. The Palestinians are at fault, and the Palestinian government's at fault. So, everyone has, an element of blame to this, but it's not going to be easy when they go through these tunnels, and hand to hand, pistol to pistol combat is going to be pretty difficult, right? I be shocked if Hamas just abandons the tunnels and there's no combat that's going underground. I'd be shocked at that, and I'd be shocked that there's no booby traps that are taking place. So I think that there are probably going to be a quite a bit of casualties with the Israelis as they're figuring this out and how they're going to what the strategy is, because they probably have an above ground strategy, right, on how to handle the tunnels. But once they're in and they start seeing that their strategy isn't working, they're going to need to adapt accordingly, and they're going to have to adapt quickly, because there's a lot of terrain to go through. So, um, you know, I'm sure, I'm sure that the war planners are thinking about this. What's the best way to do this? We level the upper surface, but then when we go underground, what do we do? We flood it. Do we gas it? Do we flamethrower it? Do we hand-to-hand combat it? Do we, you know, is there a biological component to this? There's these are things that are being discussed, but I think the most probable one will be flooding and hand-to-hand, pistol to pistol kind of situation. I'm a little surprised that the operation for the advancement hasn't taken place yet. A family member whose cousin. All right, so a family member in my family, a family member whose cousins' friends, actually, two of them died in the South attack. Now, again, these are distant relatives, and it's a friend of a friend kind of thing. So I mean, but so I don't know them at all, but I think every Jewish person somehow, some way is probably 2 degrees of separation from someone that died from that incident, which is really weird. 2 or 3 degrees of separation. Now, I'm sure that, probably if you ask someone in the United States that is not Jewish, there may be 4 or 5 or 6 degrees of separation. But the thing is that it's weird. It's like 2 degrees or less of separation of actually someone that or someone that knows someone that happened that has died in the South invasion on Simchas Torah. So that's really weird. It's really weird. Now we're talking about the flood, right? The flooding of the tunnels, and the parsha that is read for this week. The ending of this week was Noah. Now, I did a tweet on X. I got to stop calling it a tweet. I guess it's a post now. It's kind of strange that when you have these changes in names, you always kind of keep the old name in your head. Like even during the whole, whatever. But the point I'm making is that people have a tendency to keep like Twitter in their head and not X, and now it's X, and it's a post, not a tweet. So, okay, so I made a post on X about the rainbow during the 22nd anniversary, which was the one that just happened, of 9/11. So in 2023, we had the anniversary of 9/11, and there was a rainbow. It was raining that day, and it was the first time I actually said a prayer on a rainbow before my whole life. And it was very profound. It was really, out the window. It was very sharp. It was weird. And I don't know why, and when you look into it, it's a sign. Some people think it's a good sign. And I guess, you can see positive in an empty glass, a half empty glass of water, right? It's half full, right? That's the positive side. Well, the pessimist would see a negative, right? So rainbows are similar. There's a negative component to it and the positive, depending on your perspective. The rainbow represents that God's not going to inflict absolute destruction of the world. And his covenant to Noah and to everyone that issued from Noah, which we're from Noah, that there will be destruction, but it won't be absolute destruction, and that you'll be able to rebuild. All right. What happened with Noah was that everything that was put in the ark that he made outside of the ark was completely destroyed. All right. So the rainbow represents that would never happen, but destruction will happen. You're just allowed to rebuild from the ashes. So there's a pessimistic way of looking at a rainbow, and there's an optimistic way of looking at the rainbow. What's interesting about 9/11 in the 2023 on the anniversary was this rainbow that happened in New York City. And it's the 22nd anniversary. Well, it so happened that the Hebrew date of the invasion of Hamas into Israel that started this whole conflict between Israel and Hamas, right? This current conflict was on the 22nd of Tishrei. Tishrei is the month, the Jewish month. And it was the 22nd. So there's a hint, right? And this rainbow was kind of like a sign that destruction's coming. We will be able to rebuild from it, but it's coming. Now, this is happening on 9/11, right? And shortly after the start of the new month, and then the events that take place on the 22nd of Tishrei, which is what we're living through right now. So I think that there's something to be learned from not just the Bible code that I did that video on, and the term mission of uh, uh, mission of iron swords 5784, but also, there's this Noah component, that there's going to be destruction but a rebuild, and that there was a flood, and that there are these, there is this entanglement underground. And it very, very well might be that one of the major strategies that Israel either learns to use or starts using right away is the flooding of the tunnels. And in a strange biblical way, it may be fitting. You have this, you have the evilness that is happening with terrorism being flushed, very similar, being washed away and drowned, very similar to a story in Noah. So, it's just a kind of a weird kind of way of looking at this. So that was basically what I wanted to bring up in this video. Was tunnel warfare the United States hasn't seen since Vietnam. We train for it, but training for it and being in it, for several years, or it can be very problematic for the armed forces. And I think this is what you're going to start seeing with Israel. I think this tunnel system and the international affair component to this is more extreme than probably what we saw with Vietnam. So that's some things to think about. If you were a war planner on the Israeli side, what would you do? It's not very simple. Just pretend that you're in, their version of the Pentagon, and you're figuring out the war plan for destroying the tunnel system in Gaza. What would you do? And, one of the options is, one of the options that you can't use is just walk away and just let Hamas just do this, right? You have to take out the whole mission is you have to take out the tunnels. How would you do it? It's not so easy. Actually sit down and try and work that exercise out, or talk to your friends or your family members and say, if you were a war planner, what would you do? And you'd be surprised in what people, some of the strategies that certain people would have. Some of them would be conventional means. Some of them would be unconventional means, and some of them would be war crimes, based on the, accepted war doctrine, and some of it would not be. So it's not so easy. This is a very difficult. What the Israelis are trying to accomplish is extremely difficult, and ones that are sensitive. And I did this video just recently about the ones that are sensitive. They kind of, you see a glimpse of of intervention, of divine intervention of things. And you may actually see multiple times divine intervention taking place with the tunnel system. We'll have to be, don't be hubris. You have to kind of watch this, but it is extremely difficult what they're going to try to pull off. And if they pull it off, and they stop it, they completely, accomplish the destruction of the tunnel system. It would be a lot of people would interpret that as divine intervention, right? So, with that said, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. That's the-studio-reykjavik.com. And please get the health products that I offer. The reason why you should be getting supplements and the different health products and following my protocol is to slow down the aging process and to improve your immune system. When you do that, you will be able to live a longer life, right? A more vibrant life. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to fight infections better. And, when you do it properly, proper sleep, proper diet, proper exercise, proper supplementation, proper mental health, and mental exercising, like reading and writing and talking to people in the real world, you will actually be a more vibrant person and not so depressed. So, take my advice on this. Preventative medicine is medicine, and it will save you money in the long run, because what will happen is that individuals that don't do this over the decades, they end up having a catastrophic thing that happens to them, and the medical bills really pile up, right? So, pretty fast. So it's better to invest in your body while you're young than all of a sudden you have to deal with all these medical problems when you're much older. So that's, so boost up your immune system and improve your health by going to the store and getting some of the products and taking my advice on the protocol. Some of the products that you can get from the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, is this nano silver toothpaste. This nano silver toothpaste is the best toothpaste that you're going to be able to buy. All right. This does not have any fluoride. It has the structural nano silver. And what this does is it neutralizes pathogens, it whitens the teeth, reduces that gum inflammation. And by doing that, you're reducing the plaque and you are reducing the cardiovascular component of improper oral hygiene, right? There is a correlation between oral hygiene and cardiovascular disease. It's not the only component, but it is a component. So, it is important to, use the proper toothpaste, especially don't use toothpaste that has fluoride in it. Fluoride is terrible for you. So, drink filtered water, get that fluoride out, and, use this structural nano silver toothpaste, and you will notice a huge difference. This is the best toothpaste that you can buy, and it is way better than what Alex Jones sells. So please, go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the toothpaste. And, get, a few tubes of it. I also sell silver gel, and this neutralizes pathogens. It stays on your skin for about 5 hours. You put it around your mouth, around your nostrils, around your nose, lightly coat your ears or nostrils, right? And, it'll neutralize pathogens, especially during the cold season, right? But in addition, you can put this on your skin at night and keep it on your skin while you're sleeping, and you'll notice that your skin will start to clear up, and it'll start to tighten. And when you combine that with vitamin C, taking vitamin C every day from my store, You can get the vitamin C supplements and the collagen that I sell, and you drink 64 ounces of filtered water every day, you will start to be able to build up the dermal layer of your skin and improve the the lower level of the skin. And then the upper level of the skin you're taking care of with the silver gel. So they work together to improve your skin. So try that. You can get the skincare beginners box or the advanced box. The beginners box has the silver gel, the vitamin C, and the collagen. The advanced box also has resveratrol and C60. C60 is a very strong antioxidant. And what that does is it brings down the reactive oxygen species, improves the mitochondrial health, improves the ATP, reduces the necrosis of the cell. And by absorbing all that stress because of those reactive oxygen species, you're going to improve the actual metabolism of those cells. And resveratrol is a great antioxidant, works with C60, and it will also help with getting rid of senesced cells. So that basal layer that starts to improve, that starts to repopulate the skin to produce new cells, new skin cells. And as the cells start to move up to the surface, they build up more and more keratin. What will happen is you're with the C60 and the resveratrol, you're improving the health of that basal layer that's making the new cells, the new skin cells. So not only are you tightening your skin with this and clearing the skin with the silver gel, you're building the matrix of the dermal layer with the collagen and the vitamin C and the water. But you're also improving the basal layer from the C60 and the resveratrol. So it's a very good product. And if you stick to this, you'll notice that your skin will improve. So that's another way to use some of the products that I have. It's not just skincare, but another item, which is skincare, is silver soap. So this is structural nano silver soap. I have it in different scents. This one is oatmeal spice, but I also have lemongrass and peppermint and charcoal tea tree. And then what I do is that I have hummus every afternoon, and I mix with the hummus my powdered probiotic and lignans. And it helps with, this product here helps with hormonal health, but also the immune system, right? So, by improving the immune system, improving your hormonal health, your body is gonna be more in that kind of like homeostasis. It's not gonna be fighting, different things that make you weaker. The probiotics is really good because you need to, have a good gut biome. And when you have a good gut biome, you're going to be absorbing those nutrients that you need better. And you're going to actually have better metabolism between your gut and your liver. And there is a communication that takes place between your gut and your brain. So, if your gut is not properly working, you're going to have, issues in terms of depression. You're going to have issues in terms of just, cognitive function. So, keep that in mind. In terms of cognitive function, you can also get my product called Clarity Factor. And Clarity Factor helps to reduce that brain fog, and it allows you to really focus, when you're at work and, when you're studying. I take it twice a day, in the morning, in the mid-afternoon. If people don't have too much of an intensity in terms of cognitive load, for work, just taking it once a day is fine. So try that product too. It's a great product. So I have a lot of really good products in the store, and then I have the all natural deodorants made by Rainbow Herbals. So this one is citrus. I also have peppermint tea tree. These are made from Himalayan essential oils. Very, very high quality. All my products are extremely high quality. Um, and this is a great way to detox and, use it every day as a deodorant. It's all natural. It doesn't have any aluminum in it. And you'd be very impressed with this. I also have a everything bar that's very similar to this. And what that does is that it's all also from essential oils from the Himalayas. But what that will do is it will help heal cuts, burns, um, irritations from bug bites, muscle pain. It'll reduce muscle pain. Um, and also, if you use it every day, you'll actually see that the application on your skin, you'll start to soften the skin because of the ingredients of the everything bar. So you can use the everything bar as also a skincare to help improve your skin, but also as a remedy for muscle pain, bug bites, cuts to speed the healing process, abrasions. So it's a great bar. It's kind of like a utility bar. Um, and then I have a ton of different other types of supplements, such as zinc and magnesium, the B complex, which is really important because you need the cofactors for metabolism of your electron transport chain. That's in your mitochondria. So, B complex is really important for the electron transport chain and also the Krebs cycle. But also, I have turmeric. Turmeric brings down the inflammatory response. Ashwagandha controls your blood glucose levels. Digestive enzymes helps to be able to digest your proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids better. So it reduces that load on your pancreas. As we get older, our pancreas, it doesn't function as well as it should be. So, I have a lot of products in my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, that you should really take a look at. My protocol is based on 3 pillars, and you can add to it. But the foundation is neutralize pathogens with structural nanosilver. That's liquids and gels. So I have like Max 35 is a liquid. You just take a teaspoon of it a day, and it'll neutralize pathogens. You gargle with it, you swish it in your mouth and swallow it. And what that's doing is it's neutralizing pathogens in the oral cavity and your esophagus. So when you're doing that, you're increasing you're increasing the health of the barrier where many pathogens get into your body. It's not the only way, but it's a main way. Then bring down that that pro-inflammatory response by taking ashwagandha and turmeric. And the turmeric will bring down inflammation. The ashwagandha controls the blood glucose levels, so you don't have that inflammatory response of high sugar levels. So you'll improve that. You'll improve, bringing down that inflammation. And then the other pillar is taking a strong antioxidant like C60. I sell it in coconut oil and avocado. You take a teaspoon of it a day, and what will happen is you'll improve the cell because it has less stress that's going on in the cell, prevent the cell from going into necrosis, and you're going to bring up the health of the mitochondria, and you're going to have more ATP. You need more ATP to release neurotransmitters. So by doing this, you're going to improve the health of your brain by just having the ATP firing, being able to fire and get those neurotransmitters. Because when your neurotransmitters are starting to go down when you age, then your dendrites start to recede, and so you have less connection. But when you go into a growth phase by reducing the inflammation and improving um, neuron health, what will happen and you're getting those neurons to be firing because of the clarity factor. What will happen is that in that local region of the neuron, you're actually going to there are growth factors that are being produced that allow for those dendrites to start to extend and connect to other neurons, and you're actually getting better connection. But that's because you're getting those neurons to be firing more because of the ATP's higher. So, improve your mental health. Let me use the term neural conductivity. To improve your neural conductivity, you're going to be able to do that with that clarity factor in C60. But the C60 doesn't just help with neurons; it's also helping all the cells that you have in your body, because there are stresses that are taking place in the cell, and these reactive oxygen species that are starting to be produced that cause these cells to not work as well. So by soaking up that charged oxygen, you're going to improve this cellular function. So taking a strong antioxidant like C60 is really, really important. And there's tons of literature out there that, how antioxidants, slows down the aging process. So it's very simple, this protocol to improve your health and to slow down the aging process. This anti-aging protocol is what I call it. Neutralize pathogens so you're not chronically fighting something. Reduce that cellular stress because of the reactive oxygen species, and reduce the inflammation. And then you add stuff like the B complex to have more cofactors for metabolism, the zinc and the vitamin C's and the skin, different skincare supplements that I just mentioned. You can add to it, the digestive enzymes, the lignans and the probiotics, right? So you add to this. When you do this on a regular basis, you're going to notice huge improvements in your health. I cannot overstate this fact. You will see compound benefits when you're doing this on a regular basis. And when you do this for a year or 2 years, and you're looking at someone that didn't, you are going to go, oh my God, Paul, I am amazed at what you're saying, because I'm seeing in real time what's happening. Now you're going to start feeling better. You're going to start seeing benefits way earlier than a year. I mean, you're going to start seeing benefits in some cases in 2 weeks, but the longer you do this relative to your baseline of health, you're going to start seeing these improvements, and they are going to be compounding over time. There are many people that come up to me and they see me, at an event or whatever that I'm at, and they go, I cannot believe how young you look. A lot of people, that are in their 40s, they think that they're older than me, right? It just happened last night, actually. I was at a Harvard club event, and I was talking to a guy that's trying to create a fund, for media tech, and he was telling me his health story, and he made a comment that he thought I was a lot younger, right? And I asked him, how old do you think I am? And he brought a really low number, or really low number, and he thought he was older than me, and I was by far older than he was. So the reality of the situation is proper diet, proper exercise, proper sleep, proper nutrition, right? Proper supplementation, proper mental, exercising, the reading, the writing, talking to people, and also, it's like meditating or doing yoga or, um, I think also like playing music probably helps the brain too. Um, or singing, I think also, it gladdens the soul as long as you're not singing rap. I don't think that gladdens the soul, but in general. So, but if you have this on a regular basis, you're really improving your health. A big component. We are all going to die, all right? And we're all gonna start breaking down. We break down sometimes later in our lives, sometimes earlier in our life. But, a big component is how we approach the problem, how we approach, even if you have a genetic predisposition, right? You know, you can improve the situation by how, what you're doing on a regular basis. Now, depending on the genetic predisposition, um, depends on, if it's a light predisposition, you may be able to overcome it with, a change of lifestyle in your environment. But if you have a very strong predisposition, then, it's going to be harder to control. And some diseases and some problems that people have do, they fall in this category. But many people don't. And, this helps many, many, many people, even if they have, some, a lower level of genetic predisposition to disease. So, try to listen to what I'm saying, the pillars, and, follow the protocol, go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, improve your health, and, you're gonna see some huge benefits. I've talked to people and they've had autoimmune problems and other, disease issues, cardiovascular disease and all that, or joint problems or, muscle problems or whatever. And they follow my advice and they see benefits. There is their benefits, but it's because it's high quality supplements, and it's not just one thing. It's a multitude of things that are mixed together to kind of, there's synergy that's going on. You notice neutralize pathogens, bring down reactive oxygen species. A lot of people only talk about antioxidants, or only, you know, you only talk about bringing down inflammation. Well, you got to kind of put all these things together to see the overall benefits. Attack it from multiple vectors. So I don't know. Hopefully you've learned something from this. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the supplements that I offer. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. Also, please subscribe to all of my 6 channels. I have 3 channels on YouTube. The links are in the description of this video. Please click all of the links and subscribe and click the notification button. I am heavily censored. There are certain things that when I bring up, I will not be able to keep on YouTube because of the strikes. So please also subscribe to Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Those channels that I have, the links are in the description of this video and all my videos. Please subscribe there so you can see all my content. Please help support my news coverage by going and being a subscriber on my Patreon account, my Patreon channel. And that will help to support my news coverage. Another way to support my news coverage is to go to my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. And on the homepage at the very bottom, you can donate on Stripe or PayPal. And that will help support my news coverage. So there's ways to support if you are living outside of the United States and can't purchase the healthcare products that I'm offering. There are ways to support me by donation. You can also donate through Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description of this video and all my videos. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and I'm telling you, get the toothpaste, get this high quality deodorant that helps with detoxing. Get the multivitamins that I offer and all these other supplements that I just mentioned, like Clarity Factor and C60 and the collagen, right? The digestive enzymes. Just take a look at it. I have a lot of stuff, a lot of really, really high quality stuff that you can help to customize your own health kind of protocol. So thank you for listening, and I'll do some other videos. I think the next video will be the more esoteric about the tabernacle. I think that it's kind of neat, and it also kind of allows people to get away from all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world. So thank you for listening, and have a nice night.